Good afternoon, my very good friends. This is Henry Ocasio from New York City. Let me try and put my topic on Facebook, on Instagram. Conflicts, conflicts in marriage. Garrett, okay, that's good. Let me try and pin the topic. Let me try and pin the topic. 1 second. All right, the topic has been pinned. Good afternoon, my very good friends on Facebook. Good afternoon, my very good friends from Twitter. Good afternoon from my friends in London, in Germany, in Holland, in Nigeria, in Portugal, in France, and all over the world. This is Henry Ocasio speaking live from New York City. Thank you, Heaven KS Bundles, for joining. I truly appreciate you. So today, we shall be speaking about conflict in marriage. This is a topic everybody wants to know. I've received so many messages on this topic because there's always conflict in marriage, even in friendship, in brotherhood, and sisterhood, at work. Wherever you are, there is definitely problem everywhere. So the issue we're going to discuss today is how can we resolve this conflict, especially as it relates to marriage, friendship, and relationship. Okay. And but before we do that, I want to give a recap of what I did last week for those of you who were not here when I did expectations in marriage. And I'm doing it because, once your expectations are not met, definitely it's gonna lead towards conflicts. If you agree with me, it's because you couldn't meet with expectations of what your partner told you, what your friend told you, what your boss told you. That is when conflict or friction arises. Okay, so as it applies to married couples, or I think those of you who are dating, the question you have to ask yourself is, what brought both of you together? What promises did you make as a man and as a woman? What promises did you make to your spouse or to your partner? And have you been able to meet those expectations? Or let me put it this way, have you been able to exceed those expectations? It is always good for you to over deliver than to under deliver. So generally, it is good for you to always make a promise of what you can do as opposed to making a promise of what you cannot do. All right. So that is why we always have conflicts in marriage. Thank you, Augustine. Thank you, Abosederi Obasederiao. Sorry if I don't have the right pronunciation. So what am I saying? It is because the promises a man or a woman made to their partner has not been met. That is why we have unmet expectations, and which now leads to failed promises. So as a man and as a woman, I'm going to ask you, what promise did you make to your partner? Have you been able to meet those expectations? If yes, kudos to you. If no, please try and meet up. And if possible, exceed those expectations. Once you refuse to meet those expectations, that is when you now have conflicts in marriage. All right. So, as usual, I'm going to begin this webinar by giving affirmations. As you guys know, affirmations is what we use every week. The first affirmation I have is be intentional in your marriage. Be intentional. Don't say I love you, rather act it. Okay? In marriage, there will definitely be conflicts, but with love and understanding, you can resolve the issues in marriage. Now, during the course of this our webinar today, we shall be looking at a whole lot of issues. And part of what we shall be discussing today is we're going to identify the issues. Also, we see the test that comes with marriage, and then we shall now evaluate the performance. If you will agree with me that identification of a problem is 50% solved, if you have a problem and you've not been able to identify the issues, then that becomes a challenge. That leads to conflicts. So, what are the issues in marriage? For the men can say that I don't feel respected. I've always said this over and over again for those of you who have been listening to my webinar for the past 6 weeks. What a man needs in his life is respect. And what a woman needs in her life is love. So Love to a man means respect. If you're a lady and you're telling a man that I respect, I love you, meanwhile you're not respecting the man, that does not ring a bell for the man. Okay, so for a lady, what she needs is love. So as a man, if I tell the lady I love you, I love you, I respect you, but you don't really love her, she's not saying it. That's a problem right there. So men don't feel respected. They feel that the ladies are bossy, they control them, they're trying to manipulate them, and they don't feel cool with it. So that can lead to an issue. And when a woman don't feel loved, she begins to react. She might say, "Oh, you don't have my time." Another issue again that can arise, which you guys will have to identify, is personality crush. I've done a webinar on personalities where I spoke about sanguine, melancholic, choleric, and phlegmatic. You have to know your temperaments and that of your own spouse. In addition to that, also know about the colors that go with temperaments, the red color, the blue color, the green color, and the yellow color. If you have not know their color, please go back and watch my webinar on personalities in marriage. You can check on YouTube, you can check on Facebook, you can check my Instagram for my past posts. Okay, another issue again that come up again in marriage is money. I have done a webinar on money in marriage. Again, if you've not watched that webinar, please go back and watch my webinar on money in marriage. Now, in money in marriage, it could be who provides, whose money, who manages. Remember, the cardinal rule in marriage, in my webinar, I said, it is not her money. It is not his money. It is our money. Remember, this is a union of man and a wife who are now living together. And for those of you who are not yet married, this is something you have to put into consideration so that when you get into marriage, you'll be properly prepared on how to live a successful marriage and have a very blissful marriage. Another issue that will always rise again is sex in marriage. Again, I have done a webinar in sex in marriage. Okay, so in sex, it is not when he needs it or when she needs it. It is when either party needs it. Then both of you must come together and make it really work. However, we have seen cases whereby some women are manipulative. They don't want to give their men sex, and men can be randy to some extent. Once the spermatozoa has been filled up, they want to just release. So a lady, please don't try and be manipulative. Give your man sex whenever he needs it, because sex can be an issue. It could be that the man is not even satisfying the wife very well, and then that becomes a problem, right? So men, please try as much as possible to satisfy your wife. Another issue again that might come up again is issue of communication. Couples should learn how to communicate, because trust me, the hallmark of marriage in a way you can say is communication, because marriage will die or can either make or mark with communication. So no matter the problem that has come between both of you, if both of you can truly communicate and understand each other, trust me, that issue can be resolved. And I gave a hint when I was doing my webinar on communication. I said you must have a talking stick. For example, you can use this, for example, as a talking stick. You might tell your wife, okay, once I'm talking, please don't interrupt me. When I'm done, then I will hand over this stick to you. And then you will not tell me in your own words what you understood based on what I said. And I will now respond to you. If you do that, that gives you two reasons. One, you are listening to me, and two, you are understanding my points. So we have to understand the real issues in marriage. Understand these real issues in marriage. People talk about the enemy can be this, can be that. No, your enemy cannot be maybe my husband, my kids, my wife, or my boss. No, the real enemy in marriage is failure to really understand your couple, failure to understand your partner. That is the real issues in marriage. Okay, so you don't have to apportion blame. Both of you have to come in together and identify what is the primary cause of the problem, the challenge. Once you solve that issue, then you will be able to address every other thing. Every marriage have a secret. All right, so that is why I said you must understand the issues in marriage. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 12, 12 things that you have to look into to understand how you can resolve issues. Because there's a saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a stop in the right direction. Once you have not been able to understand the problem in your marriage, then you're going to have a challenge. And this problem does not just arise overnight. No, they take their time to come up. And what are those problems? So first of all, I'm going to talk about the issue of distance. Distance is a very big issue in marriage. I tell every man and every woman, if you are not ready to live together, please don't get married. Because let's be honest with yourself, emotional stability is what every man needs in his life. For example, if you're a married couple, okay, and then you want to go, they want to travel. If you just married recently as a man, or you have, okay, I want to travel outside the country to further my education. If it's possible, please try and work with your wife, or let her join you as soon as practicable. Because once there's a distance, there's a problem. If, for example, again, as a man, you have a job in a different state, if it's possible, please try and go with your wife. It is very, very, very important. Or as a wife, you've gotten a job in a different state or in a different country, please, if it's possible, both of you should go together. Because once both of you are in different countries or in different continents or even in different states or not living together, trust me, you are giving rooms for problem, and this can be as a result of different things that can happen. The man might say you are cheating on me, the woman might say you are cheating on me. Another issue again that might rise up again is sexual demands. And how does that really play into consideration? The man might say you are not satisfying me very well, you're not good in sex. The woman might say not good in text. Okay, so these demands can be met in different ways. So how can you address these issues? That's the problem I want to give to you guys. So demands has to be met. The woman might say, I am not being loved properly the way I want to love. Okay. The woman might say, if you don't love me, you will regret. The man might say, if you don't love me, you will regret. Those things shouldn't really come in, because sex is one of those grounds that people use to divorce in life or divorce in marriage, because a lot of things that happen in marriage again happens what happens in the bed. Partners might not come up to really say it, but that's the truth of the matter. To thought of marriage problem is sometimes is what happens in the bed. So another issue again that can result in marriage can be conflicts. And how does this conflicts arise? Let me say differences. Let me put it for now differences. Now, how does this difference arise? A man might have a different preference, a woman might have a different preference. So both of you need to know what is it that you like and what is it that you don't like. So in marriage, there's nothing like my own thing or her own thing. No, it's both of you that owns it together. In marriage, both of you have to compromise and know what you can do. But don't say as a man, I have ego, I'm the head of the family, everything must work my way. You have to come at a common ground to really know how to address these issues. Another conflict that can arise again might be the issue of delays. Delays coming in different ways. It could be that there's a delay in getting a job. There's a delay in conceiving. So once you have a delays in conceiving a child or having a baby boy, a baby girl, sometimes it's a very, very big challenge. And it's not all couples that can handle it. From where I come from, we have a culture that some people give more preference to male. I personally don't subscribe to that same philosophy. If a man has five girls, five girls. If a man has five boys, five boys. But science have said that it is a man that determines the sex of a baby. Whatever it is for me, I just believe that it is God that that determines the birth of a baby. So if you're having delays in your marriage, it's an issue for you to really see how can you guys reconcile this issue. I want to thank you, Wanda Comedia. Thank you, Bella Nwa. Thank you, Emiko Kazo, for really joining. All right. So another issue again that can come up again might be defects. And what is defect? Defects comes in different ways. It could be that a man has had some physical defects, historical defects, or even family defects. So, for example, now the man's penis might not be structured in the right way. It can be that the man has experienced emotional trauma when he was growing up in the family. It could be that they have historical problem in their family. All right, so that must have given rise to a defect. And once this is a malfunction, then that becomes a problem. But what I've always told couple is this, okay? Emphasize on your strengths. Emphasize on your strength, because I strongly believe that what binds us together is more than what separates us. Do not emphasize on the weakness of your partner or your spouse. Once you continue to emphasize on that part, then that becomes a challenge. So work on those defects. So, like I said again, you might have delays in conceiving. All right. So that delays in conceiving come up in different aspects. So do not allow those delays to be a very big issue in your marriage. Again, I spoke about differences. Both of you should know how to work on your strength together. Whatever you focus on together will generally expand. Narrow your differences and see where you can put common ground and have more understanding, because it is very, 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 very important for partners to really know themselves. Once you don't have that right information, it becomes a problem. Another issue again that can come up again might be the issue of disclosure. As a man, please, as a woman, try and disclose to your partner. If both of you have agreed that this is what you're going to do, disclose your time and money. If as a man you are not able to disclose your time and your money, then you are giving rise or issues for conflicts to arise. So please, men, please learn how to disclose how you spend your time with your spouse or with your partner. It will go a longer way to build trust. And when there's no trust in a marriage, the marriage begins to crack, the marriage begins to fall down. So conflict arises in different ways. Another issue again that might come up again is the issue of despair. Despair comes up in different ways. Trust me, it comes up in different ways. Okay, it could be that the man has no job, or he has lost something he was expecting. But as a man, please try and come up with a better strategy. Inspire hope to your spouse or to your wife. You know, women like it when you give them hope. They want to say that truly you have what it takes to manage the affair. When a woman is not having confidence in a man, or is feeling threatened or insecure, she begins to despair. And when she begins to despair, then we have problems, we have issues that come up in the marriage. So let's not allow despair to come up in your marriage. Another issue again that I'm going to talk about is the issue of defeat. Defeat comes up in different aspects. It is not about I have strength in this area. No, think that what is the worst thing that can happen? If both of you have experienced failure, how can both of you manage it together? In order for you to manage it together, both of you must say to yourself that we have been through worse issues in the past. Okay, and then let us see how we can make this work very well. Thank you, Emeko. As you said, women love financial security. That is true. There are so many things women love, but financial security is one of those great things that women need to have. That's a fact. I don't dispute that fact. So both of you need to fight together, and you don't have to give up whenever you have defeat. Defeat comes up in a different way because every marriage must be tested. Let's be that fact. So once you have that defeat, please just know that you have to work up together to see how you can make it work. Now, this issue between disappointment and how does that come up again? Appearance is not reality. A man must have told you, I'm going to do this for you when we get married. But when I get into marriage, you don't discover that appearance is not reality, because marriage itself is an illusion. Marriage itself is an illusion. It's just that when you get into marriage, your eyes will now be opened to what it is. So once you have disappointment, a great thing that can help both of you is to practice what I called gratitude. In gratitude, you have to know what has brought both of you together. Appreciate the challenges, because it is those challenges that will make both of you to be strong. Without those challenges, sometimes again, it could be hard, it could be challenging. Another issue that can come up again will be the issue of disease or disability. And how does that work with? People say, I will be with you till the end of time, I will be with you forever. But guess what? When there's an issue, a disease issue or a disability, the man or the woman walks away. Look, if a man or a woman should leave you because of a disease or disability, generally, okay, it all depends. Generally, that means just know that you never had a partner initially. You never had a partner at the first place, because both of you are meant to be there for better or for worse. Remember, this webinar I'm doing is strictly for those who are married and those who are intending to go into marriage. But I have, but I have a strong um, preference for the Christian marriages, because it is very, very important, because Christian marriage is what I use to do this webinar. I'm not speaking based on the worldly perspective. No, I'm speaking about an ideal marriage. That's why I said generally, if there's a medical issue, both of you will have to sit up together. But do not say because of this issue, I'm going to leave my wife. No, it shouldn't be that way. Another issue again, I'm going to talk about the issue of debts. Debts can raise so many defects in marriage. Okay, but then what I'm going to say to you guys is As a partner, do not replace debts, okay, with despair. All right, let it be that both of you have decided that you will be together, and in that way, both of you will now go stronger. Now, that being said, now let us see how we can really evaluate our marriage. Evaluation is something that can really help both of you to really succeed very, very well. Because, like I said earlier on, every marriage has to be tested. Every marriage will be tested. So, as couples, both of you have to be intentional about your marriage. You have to tell yourself, what is it that I'm going to do that will make my marriage to grow stronger? So, in evaluating your marriage, you have to know that things don't work. Both of you have to make it work. Time does not fix itself. You have to fix time. Anything that you want to give life, give it time. You can't say, I want to make my marriage work, and then you now remain docile. No, you have to put in that time and that effort. And how can couples really evaluate themselves? Both of you have to have goals. Have goals, and ask yourself, have we been able to meet our goals and expectations? Identify the issues of what you really want to do in life. You have to identify the issues, okay? It is very, very important. Identify your issues in marriage. Identify is meaning that you have to have what I call the metrics. So you can evaluate yourself by asking yourself, have we been able to do what we said we're going to do? So both of you have to really evaluate yourselves very, very well, because once you evaluate yourself, it will go a longer way to really help both of you. Another issue again, both of you have to put together is draw the line. How do you draw the line together? You do not expect overnight miracle. Decide on how you're going to go on vacation, how you're going to have fun. Okay, if you're going to plan it, say, okay, every week, okay, this is what we're going to do. Every 2 weeks, this is what we're going to do. And that way around, both of you will now say that you are making up a headway. So in conclusion, I want to say something to you guys. Just give me your ears on this, okay? We have seen that men are the head of the family. A man has to manage the affairs of his or her family, right? In managing your affairs, you need maturity. Marriage is not for kids. If you're not matured enough mentally, please don't go into marriage, because you will crash. It takes a lot to go into marriage, because sacrifice comes into consideration when you're talking about marriage. So what do I mean by that? We've seen some men who are very skillful in sales, in skills, in talking, in negotiation. But guess what? Many of them have not been able to manage their family very well. They have not been able to manage their wife very, very well. So I'm going to tell you, as a man, that skill you have in sales, in negotiation, in business, please bring that same skills to your house, okay, and use that same skill to manage your wife. You have to be committed to the process. No marriage will work if partners do not put in the time and effort, okay, to make it work. Both of you have to be committed. Both of you have to define what you really want, okay? You have to define your commitment. This is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do. And how do you do that? Both of you need to plan together. Both of you need to play together. Both of you need to have fun together. And most especially, both of you need to pray together, because it is very, 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 very important. Because couples that pray together will definitely live together. So I'm going to give a recap of all I've said earlier on. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me on Facebook or on Instagram, and I will be glad to really share with you. So today's topic is all about conflicts in marriage. And I started by telling you guys that there are so many issues that come up in marriage conflicts, okay? But it is how both of you manage it and resolve it that is going to make the issues to work. I spoke about being able to identify the issues, right? I spoke about the tests both of you will definitely go through. You have to experience the test. And I was able to conclude by evaluating those tests that will help both of you to really go on. And what are those issues that I raised up? I spoke about debts, okay? I spoke about defects. I spoke about despair. I spoke about disappointment. I spoke about failure. I spoke about personality crush. I spoke about sex in marriage, money in marriage, personality in marriage, and also spoke about but there's one the last one I spoke about, okay, about the love and the respect in marriage. These are some of the issues that couples have gone through. So if you allow distance to come into your marriage, then it's gonna bring in some issues. If you allow sexual demands from the external forces to come into your marriage is going to be an issue. If you allow delays to come into your marriage, maybe delays in conceiving or telling your partner he or she will regret they leave you, it's a problem. For example, if a man is the type that drinks a lot, okay, as a wife, you have to accommodate your husband. By that, because someone that wants to stop drinking will not stop drinking overnight. It will take time. A man that has been cheating will not stop overnight. It will take time. Same thing with a man, you have to be patient with your wife. So delays coming in different aspects. I spoke about defects, and I spoke about both of you have to work on your strength and see how both of you can really make it work. I spoke about doubt because doubt again is something that has made marriage to collapse. In doubt, I spoke about how not being able to disclose to your partner can result to doubt. So doubt emanates from lack of disclosure. So as a man, please, or as a woman, try and disclose your time and be accountable with the money both of you have agreed that you're going to work together with. In this part, I said that both of you have to come up with a strategy. Whenever there's a problem, for example, the man has lost his job, your job as a man is to give your wife hope. Let her know, baby, this is not the end of the road. Trust me, I have this together. I'm going to work on it. But if a woman has not been able to see that stability and that security or that hope, she begins to feel defeated. She begins to feel threatened. I spoke about disease and disability, all right? And I said partners need to be intimate with yourself. Once you're intimate with yourself, let me tell you, you guys can manage any problem. I'm going to give you a typical example. Now, depression is one of those big issues that happen in marriage. All right. When a partner is feeling depressed, you as a man, you have to come in, to make it happen. And if your man, if as a man you are feeling depressed, the woman has to come in. And how do you come in? You can have him by being intimate. Baby, honey, what's the problem? Let's talk. And if both of you have been able to talk, trust me, you never know. You might go into foreplay and then become intimate, and before then you have sex. All right. And when you have sex, you release oxytocin and dopamine. These are stress that helps to release the body. All right. So depression can result in different ways. Just like I spoke about death. Okay. So these are some of the issues that I've given to you guys. I was able to conclude by telling you that you have to evaluate your marriage. Once you evaluate your marriage, trust me, you ask yourself, okay, we have been here together for like 6 months, for 1 year, for 5 years, for 10 years. Let's evaluate our marriage. It could be done every 6 months. It could be done every 6 weeks to see how both of you are really coping. And how do you evaluate yourself, your marriage? You have to be intentional because things don't work. You have to make it to work. All right. In doing that again, you have to identify your goals as a couple. Identify those goals you want to do because goals are what will help you to evaluate yourself. And in bringing that goals, there's something I call metrics or rubrics. These are the instruments that you will use to really evaluate yourself. And in doing that, you must draw a timeline and say, okay, in 6 months, in 3 months, this is what we're going to do. Otherwise, you guys might hit the rock if you don't evaluate yourself. As you guys may know, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So in conclusion, I say that we have seen men that are good in sales, but guess what? They are not good in managing their home. It's wanting to be the CEO of a multinational bank, or you're a governor, or you're a minister, or you're a high-profile person in the society. But there's something else again to manage your home. So as a man, if you have not been able to manage your home, I wonder how you're going to manage people you are leading because it starts from the family. So the same strengths, the same energy that you use in managing your office, please channel those same strengths you use in managing your office to your home. But remember, you do not have to bring in what happens in the office down to your home and says, this is the rule, this is how it's going to happen. No. Marriage is different. Marriage is not office, it's not professional, it's a social it's a social thing. So no marriage will work unless both of you have decided that you're going to make it work. And in doing that, you must be committed to it. Be intentional. Put in the time and the effort in your marriage to make it work. And in doing that, please always learn to play together, have fun together, and most especially pray together. That being said, I want to thank you guys for giving me your time today. This is will I say the last webinar on marriage. Maybe next week I'm going to do a recap of all I've said about marriage. I spoke about sex in marriage, money in marriage, personalities in marriage, expectation in marriage, conflict in marriage. All right, and how a man can lock the wife, no, how a man can rock the wife, and how the lady can rock the man. Maybe next week I'm going to give a recap of all these 7 topics I did. Maybe I'm not promising, maybe I'm going to give a recap. So I'm going to appreciate you guys. If you have friends, invite them next week on Facebook, on Instagram. You can watch my videos on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube, and share this video. All right. I thank you guys for giving me your time, and I hope I'm going to see you guys same time again next week. So for now, I'm going to say thank you and have